Many Catholics have a practice of regular confession. They would go to a priest to tell him their sins, trusting that God would forgive them. Some do so in order to find some relief from a tormenting conscience. Others do it because they want to grow in their spiritual life. A common experience is to come back, again and again, to confess the same sins. We get the sense that there is no improvement. It does not have to be this way. Real progress is possible if we make proper use of the Examen Prayer. As we tackle one sin at a time, we can experience a lessening of its grip and a strengthening of our relationship with God. Think of Thomas. He is a father of 3 children. His oldest teenager has been using drugs. The entire situation has been very difficult for him and his wife Nancy. They don't agree on the course of action they should take and are having fights very often. Lately, Thomas has become very frustrated. He has said very mean words to his wife and to his daughter. As usual, he eventually reconsiders and apologizes. Then he goes to confession. The situation, however, continues. After a few weeks, there he is again. He blows up and lashes at his daughter. This is usually followed by a fight with his wife. Despite his sincere apologies, he cannot help it but get triggered by her daughter's behavior and his wife's attitude. After a while, his confessions seem to be a broken record, repeating the same things over and over. After participating in a spiritual retreat, Thomas learned about the Examen Prayer. Rather than thinking of all the bad things he had done, he decided to give this a try. It didn't sound so difficult to do. And so, before going to bed, he started taking a few minutes to quickly review the day. He would only focus on 3 things. 1. He would think of one thing to be grateful for. He realized that he took many blessings for granted and that he needed to stop and appreciate his family more. 2. He would also think of one disordered affection in his heart. He just had to listen to the language of his emotions in order to hear where his heart was leaning. He had to discern up to what point his heart was not aligned to God's will. 3. Finally, he would need to resolve to bring one of these 2 to his mental prayer the following morning. Tom recognized how much the previous examen at night leveraged his mental prayer the following morning. At times he would just contemplate a simple blessing from the previous day. It would be something as simple as the delicious meal that his wife had prepared for him. He would enjoy thinking of how God took care of him and provided through the love of his wife. Other times he would take a frustration to his prayer. He would examine it to figure out what the frustration would be saying to him. He had come to realize how feelings have a language of their own. Many times frustrations originate in deeper feelings of fear and control. In the case of his daughter, he was afraid of losing her. His fear had led him to control her behavior so as to, quote, unquote, help her. In the end, his Examen Prayer would give him clear insights on what he needed to address in his mental prayer. He would bring the issue of control back again and again until he could learn to let go. Over time, Tom would learn to trust in God's providence. He would come to realize that his fear was backfiring and that both his daughter and his wife resented his attitude. As he let go of his fears, he came to appreciate them more. Little by little they too started trusting him as well. Examen Prayer is all about focus. About 500 years ago, St. Ignatius of Loyola had compared the enemy of our spiritual life to a brigand and his gang, attempting to attack a citadel, by seeking the weakest part of the fortress. We would need to place all of our resources in defending that weakest part of the wall. Likewise, he recommended focusing on that single point, and leverage it so as to grow in all virtues that of the spiritual life. We could say that Examen Prayer goes hand in hand with mental prayer. Both complement each other. One prayer examines the heart. The other one confronts the deep desires of the heart with God's will. In the end, this dual process brings about a greater degree in trust and love of God. In turn, the process brings about an improved relationship with those around us, as it helps us to see the beauty in each, while being patient with God's plan for each.